Hey everyone. Thank you for coming. So this is an unplugged session, super informal, mostly Q&A. I really encourage you to sort of come to the center. It doesn't really work to have an intimate unplugged discussion in such a huge room. So if you can, sit near the microphone, please sit close to the center. That would be super appreciative. My name is Adam Harmetz. We'll do introductions a little more later, including the rest of the panel today. This is mostly going to be fed from you in the audience, so please think about questions you haven't got answered, strategy questions, stuff about what's new, roadmap, anything we can answer. If you have a super detailed technical question you think only applies to you, we'll be here afterwards. We can probably take that. So we make the best use of time of everybody's time here. Think about something that might be applicable to many people in the room. We will take questions through the microphone mostly, but you can also pre-seed questions. I'm going to be here monitoring Twitter, so you can see the hashtag of our breakout session right there. That's what I'll be monitoring. It'll come up right here on the screen, and I'll do my best to get to as many of those as possible. We've also collected some questions already on Twitter, as well as just at the booth, common things we've had. So the way we're going to start is with an introduction. Each person will introduce themselves, and we have a question about their area of expertise that we've heard really commonly at the booth today. So that is good. Anything else to add? We're good to move forward. We have our fancy picture of our faces. And the breakout, the Twitter thing, the send-in questions, is still at the top of the slide right there. So Kavita, do you want to start by introducing yourself?
Sure. It's great to see all of you. I see a lot of familiar faces from all the sessions. So thanks for all the support. My name is Kavita Kamani. I'm a PM lead for security and policies for OneDrive and SharePoint.
Cool. Great. And so, I know we think a lot about balancing end-user empowerment as well as the IT security. Do you want to talk a little bit about how you find that balance in your everyday work and some of the new announcements today that might talk about how we show that balance in product?
Sure. Yeah, I just actually ended a session around policies. And security and usability is one of the biggest challenges that we try to balance. If you try to block actions for your end users and you don't do it relative to the sensitivity of the content, then they're just going to find other ways of getting things done anyway. And we've done a lot to provide you a spectrum of controls that take into account, where you set your policies, at what scope do you set it, at the tenant level versus at the site level or content level. And we give you policies around where the user is coming from, whether it's their device, corporate device versus their home device, or which network they're coming from. So I highly encourage you to think about, are you using the right-sized hammer when you're trying to protect content in your organization. And this week, we talked about one of the policies, the idle session sign-out policy, which is now in preview, and we're looking for customers to give us feedback. We announced updates to some of our other policies that have already been in first release, like limited browser access. We announced a brand new way of sharing securely for external users that takes away some of the friction from signing in and signing up. So highly encourage you to try out those things to feel like they provide you the right control.
Cool. Thank you, Kavita. Hopefully that gives you a sense of her area of expertise, and you can think of some more questions to ask in just a minute after we introduce the rest of the panel. Dan, do you want to introduce yourself?
Okay. I'm Dan Kogan. I work for Adam, so I'll behave on stage. My team owns all of the developer platform, SPFX, for SharePoint, and that's basically what we've been talking about all week.
Cool. So one of the questions I think we get a lot is, as you well know, there's different types of developers. There's certainly ISVs, solution integrators that an enterprise might hire, and then obviously a ton of enterprise developers working directly for a company. How do you think about the balance between that? What's new in each area in SharePoint Framework today? And do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. So when we think about developers, I think, so the one that you didn't mention is also our in-house developers in Redmond, right? So one of the things that we've done, and I think has been really important in sort of the way that this has evolved for the SPFX framework, is we build the framework that we believe not only our own developers in-house in Redmond will use, but that our enterprise IT departments as well as ISVs will use. And so we get the feedback, but we really try and pick and choose the features that we believe will help them enhance, but will also allow us to keep things sort of a little bit under control, right? One of the problems that we always used to have was people would go and build all sorts of crazy stuff in-house. They own the servers. They could have full control. And then when they move to the cloud, we're like, hey, those are our servers. We don't want you to do some of that. And so there's a balance there where we have to say, we understand that you're going to go custom. We need to figure out how to help you do that. And so that's really what SPFX has been all about, is trying to unlock a lot of the power while we still have some of the commitment of making sure that the service is available and that things are secure and so on. So.
Cool, thanks. Navjot, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Navjot Virk. I'm a group program manager on SharePoint and OneDrive team. And so my team owns 3 big areas, so I wear 3 different hats. One is on-premises server. Second is all admin and security controls. And third is infrastructure for the service.
Great. And so we get a lot of questions this week about on-prem versus cloud. As you well know, we have tens of millions of customers in both environments. How do we think about the balance between the two? What's new with on-prem this week? What have we announced? And how do we really think about our on-prem and cloud and coexistence strategy?
So I think Jeff Teeper touched on it in his keynote. I think most of you are aware by now, we're essentially a cloud-born, cloud-first product now. So when we start out, we usually think about features in the cloud and think about how our customers are going to use it in the cloud. But that said, we know and we understand that a lot of our customers are still on premises and they need to stay on premises for some time. We understand that I think at this point pretty much everybody knows at some point they're going to move to the cloud. But it's a journey. And every customer wants to take that journey at their own pace, and we want to support you in doing that. And that's where on-premises server comes in play. So we know that some people, there are reasons why they can't move everything to cloud right away. So it's going to take them some time to get there. And in the meantime, you want to make sure that you're running on a really good server, super secure server, and it's actually giving you new value and new functionality and new features as well. So when we build features now, we start in the cloud, we think of building them in the cloud, and then where it makes sense, we try to bring them back to the next on-premises release as well. And that's where we just announced we're going to have a new server release, 2019, coming, it'll be in preview second half of the year and shipping sometime at the end of the year or early the year after. And so our intent is we're very committed to on-premises servers. We'll continue to deliver value. We do feature packs at least one a year and try to continuously deliver value.
Cool, thank you. Zach, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Zach Rosenfield. I run the PM team on the infrastructure team that Navjot referenced, so I work for Navjot. And was just telling you, next week will be my 11th year working on the SharePoint team.
Yay!
Like my first day in the office was your last day as an intern. I actually took your computer, I think, from you.
Yes, that is correct.
And I believe it had a CRT monitor, believe it or not, that I also got to inherit from you. So we run at planet scale in SharePoint Online and Office 365. Can you talk about some of the unique performance challenges we have, as well as opportunities, and what kind of goals do we set for ourselves for performance in the cloud?
So this was a bit of a transformative year for us when it came to thinking about performance in SharePoint Online. I think a big part of it and kind of what kicked it off was this big investment in multi-geo. Now that companies are going to be spread across lots of geographies, it's more important than ever that not only is data fast, but it needs to be fast when you're collaborating with people across different continents and around various areas of the world, because where you are and where your data is, or at least the data you're interacting with, is more likely to be somewhere else than nearby. And so we put a lot of energy into it and changed how we really thought about data. For those of you that think about performance, we started thinking about the 95th and the 99th percentiles in a way that we really hadn't before. We had sort of said that that was too far away to be our problem. The fortunate thing about being Microsoft, we have an incredible network available to us. It's sort of a private highway. We really partnered with the Microsoft networking team to optimize that network for some of SharePoint's unique situations and have been able to really grow our performance speed significantly. I'll do a shameless plug. The next session in this room, I'm giving a talk, and I'll talk in a lot of detail and actually demonstrate for you how little you notice where your data really is when interacting with SharePoint Online these days.
Great, thank you, Zach. So I'm the final panelist today. My name is Adam Harmetz. My team owns the user experience for SharePoint as well as the developer platform. So this week we're talking a lot about the 3 big areas of SharePoint. In team sites, we continue to invest in there, connecting it to Microsoft Teams as well as using SharePoint Outlook and Office 365 groups as an underlying platform. We're really excited about communication sites, our modern publishing site, a way of broadcasting information out to many people, as well as an area in business applications. We work really closely with the Power Apps and Flows teams to allow people to create forms, as well as orchestrate processes with different systems. So that's my area. I probably get asked all the time, what's the difference between a SharePoint team site and a Yammer group versus a Microsoft team versus an Outlook group, et cetera, et cetera. And so I don't really want to use slides today, but I will anchor on one slide just because it's something that we've been using to talk about this today. The answer, of course, is not one word. There are many different types of ways of working, but there's this new framework that actually was developed. Satya helped us figure out this name, inner loop and outer loop. And I think it's been really helpful in conversations this week in explaining the different types of ways people communicate. So when people ask me the question of, what is a SharePoint site and what's the difference between all this, one of the things I like to say is, very clearly, no matter how you communicate or what you're using, everybody needs content, and that content is stored in a SharePoint site. So it really doesn't matter what mode you use for how you converse. It's all stored in SharePoint. Now, there is several choices from Microsoft on the ways you can have conversations. And I really think the inner loop, outer loop framing has helped clarify. Where inner loop is really for rapid conversations with your team members. If I hear people tell me they need rapid decision making, the speed of their business is increasing and they really just need to get answers quickly, I think that's really what we designed the chat modality for. And that's what Microsoft Teams has invested in. And of course, if you create a Microsoft team, you get a SharePoint site under the hood. And we've done a lot of work this week such that if you'd like, you can totally navigate all of SharePoint from within the frame of Microsoft Teams. And then I talk to a lot of customers that tell me, but another problem I have is broadcasting information out to the rest of the organization. There's a famous example, Yammer example with Red Robin, who wanted to improve their burgers, or should fries be in little silver cups, or should they be in a basket? For those of you with young children, you probably know what I'm talking about. My favorite kid goes to Red Robin all the time. And that is really an example of sort of broadcasting out information, maybe people you don't work with every day, but you're just trying to get information, and that's sort of that outer loop. And that connects through Yammer, of course, also backed by a SharePoint team site. You have a comment, Dan, on that?
Yes.
Okay.
You just said my favorite kid.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. Well,
Just
do you want to
checking.
share which one your favorite is?
No comment. This is being recorded. So that is sort of one framework that we worked on a lot right up into this conference. It's brand new, something we talked about right now. And so I think it's been landing pretty well as we've talked about it with people. We're obviously willing to take more questions about it. And of course, all of these things not only use SharePoint sites, but use Office 365 groups as an identity construct. So that's a brief introduction. You get to notice a sense of our areas of expertise. We also have plenty of other members of our team sitting in the front row, so I might throw a couple questions to them. But I'd really like to open up to the rest of the audience. Literally, we have 62 minutes left, and it's going to be all open Q&A. I will monitor Twitter. If you don't want to get up in front of the microphone, or you feel like the line is too long, feel free to shout out your question with, I'll go back up, with the breakout code you should see at the bottom now. And these are just some slides I thought we might reference, especially the roadmap slides from all the major drill-in sessions. So we can use PowerPoint Zoom to drill in on any of them as needed. We'll sort of just round robin through, starting right here.
Thanks. Communication sites look great. I really like the vision you're having for them. It's solving a use case that many companies will be pleased to be using. But we have a different solution for our intranet, and the choice of two different kinds of sites is confusing to my users. Is there a way to turn off communication sites?
So the choice between team sites and communication sites is that the part that's confusing, or just that you have a third-party product?
When I want them to use group sites for collaboration. I don't want them to use communication sites for an intranet use case or a collaboration use case.
Yeah. So today you cannot turn off communication sites. That was a decision we made. I think you're probably the second person I've heard ask that, so that means we're really going to take that feedback and take it back. But just so you have clarity, there is no way of turning off communication sites right now. Sure.
Thank you. So can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're super excited about the announcement about groupifying SharePoint sites. That's something that we've been asking for a while. But one of the big concerns that we've got is that we have different governance structure. So really we want anybody in our organization to be able to see the contents of our corporate files. But at the same time, we want a subset of those people really collaborating. And the Teams SharePoint site has been incredibly disruptive to us. We would love to be able to turn it off, connect the team or the group into our bigger, more open SharePoint sites, but as the default file collaboration space. Any chance of that happening anytime soon?
I can talk about it, but Jeremy Masner, do you want to briefly talk?
Yeah, sure. Hi, I'm Jeremy Masner. This is the area
Jeremy.
that I work on. I think, well, let me try to recap. You're asking for when someone goes to Microsoft Teams and creates a new team. Today we create a new group and a new site with that, and you're asking, can we instead attach an existing site into that group that Microsoft Team created?
Correct. So what I heard in one of the early keynotes is groupifying sites, where you take a SharePoint site and then you add a group to it, and that's great. That's kind of what we want to be able to do. But then right now the permission structure and the access is driven by that group. We want it to be more open and basically to remove that closed SharePoint site file storage piece and instead divert files into a more broadly accessible SharePoint site.
Yeah, let's talk about it a couple ways. One is, even when a SharePoint site is connected to a group, you have the full power of SharePoint permissions. So if you choose to say, look, the group membership is sort of a core set of people who collaborate, but I really need this site to also be accessible to these 3 security groups, or to a dynamic security group populated based on AAD attributes. That works today, so you can always make that thing more expansive. There's maybe a second case, which is we already have a site and we want to connect it to a group that's already been created, so that's a little bit different than Groupify. Groupify takes an existing site and creates a new group. We do know that there are people who have a group that got created which made a SharePoint site. They don't really want to use it, they want to use a different one. That is on our backlog. We don't have a roadmap date for when that will happen, but you could imagine a Swapify, if we're going to use the Blankify pattern.
Very swappy site.
Yeah, and so someone created a group and you say, like, we didn't really want that site, we want a different site, so swap that thing in. There's a third pattern that maybe you're getting at that I don't think we'd support, which is, can you use the same core site across multiple teams? And the answer there is no, not in a deep group connected way, because groups have policy, and so you get into a weird state of group A using Kavita's stuff is super locked down and says no external users and very strict retention, and group B as the opposite. If they're in the same site collection, those two things conflict. What you can do using Teams is you can add tabs that link out to multiple SharePoint sites. So I think there's a way to bring that content in without running afoul of things.
And just for clarity, we're looking more at the second scenario that you're talking about, and we've explored the tabs as a way of connecting into the SharePoint site, but we want to be able to turn off the files associated with the group, basically to remove the files tab out of the team interface. And
yeah, so I think stay tuned. We're gonna finish up the Groupify work and get that out into the world, and then Swapify will be next.
I will look forward to Swapify. Thank you.
You just made that up on the fly.
I think it's already been tweeted like 10 times in the last,
Great. I see, wow, 22 new questions submitted. All right, I'm going to go figure that out while we take a question in the back there.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think Swapify probably answers mine. We have
Okay.
10 years of team sites, and now users want Microsoft Teams. So is there going to be an interface from within SharePoint to automatically create a team from a SharePoint team site?
You want to take that real quick?
I'll back up. Yeah, so it'll be a two-step process. You'll want to Groupify, because you can't use Microsoft Teams without having a group behind it. And then as you go through the Groupify process, we'll end up sort of asking a couple key questions about how you want to use this newly Groupified site. So the one we asked today is, hey, do you want a new homepage to go with that? And in short order, we'll also ask, hey, do you want to use a chat-based workspace to collaborate together? And if so, we'll create a team for that.
Yeah, because I was just looking for an easier way for them to click a button in SharePoint to actually do that process without having to go over here, create a group. Did you want a group? Okay, now create the team. Can we just create a team from within SharePoint?
Yes, we are partnering with the Microsoft Teams organization. See how I avoided saying Teams team? The Teams organization and our organization work closely together, and we're going to provide that API. They're going to provide it to us, and we will provide the UX for
Perfect. Thank you.
I'll take a question from Twitter and then right down there. So, and there's a why question here, which I think is great for a talk like this, because why sort of gets behind the scenes and you can figure out what's in our head. So the question is, why didn't you develop the new SP Admin Center with the old SP Admin Center's functionality already built in? So Navjot, do you want to maybe take that one and talk about it?
So I think you guys are well aware that the existing SP admin has lots of functionality. And part of the reason why it is so hard to use it, that it over time, as we kept adding new features, we just kept throwing them into the same UX and didn't get a chance to take a step back and say, when should we completely redo the user model for that admin experience? So now we're taking a stab at that, and it's just that the existing one does have so many features that if we waited to bring each and every feature into the new UX, it would take us a very long time to ship the new UX. So it's a simple decision of getting an MVP out there, getting the V1 out there, getting feedback, making sure is the new user experience resonating or not. And as we add new functionality, putting it in the new UX instead of taking it into the old UX. And over time, we will bring everything that is used in the old UX into the new UX, but we didn't want to wait for that. If we waited, it would just take a very long time. And some of those things, frankly, we actively look at usage of every feature in the old UX and decide what are the most heavily used features, and we're bringing them first. But it's just a journey, so it's going to take us some time.
Great. We'll take the question here, but there's a comment I'll just share, Dan. Just wanted to say I love SharePoint Framework, and thanks for eating your own dog food.
Well, thank you.
I submitted a couple of questions on Twitter too, so you can ignore them.
Okay.
I have two questions, one around SharePoint profile service, and this is something that I've been trying to chase for 2 years. So currently we're an Exchange hybrid customer, online and on-prem. And your profile pictures on Dell, I believe, come from SharePoint user profile service. And for that to happen, you need to have your mailbox on Exchange Online because you're getting the directory service from Exchange.
Okay, keep asking. I'm finding the architect in the audience that hopefully can answer
So the
this.
question is, you get all the attributes from SharePoint Directory Service from Azure AD, but why is profile pictures, thumbnail photos being ignored and getting from Exchange Online, not Azure AD?
Naresh?
One of the things you'll notice is that the pictures that are actually stored in Exchange are high fidelity photographs. AAD today does not actually store those. The honest answer here is that we have not yet provided a roadmap for how all the pictures that you see, including thumbnails and the high fidelity photographs, actually come from the same source. In SharePoint Online, today, you'll notice that actually the pictures get served depending on where you are from the appropriate location, be it Exchange or SharePoint. And so the honest answer here is that stay tuned until you actually get a feedback or see our roadmap on this one.
Is this something, would you say, a design change request for an Azure AD team, or is it something that should be targeted to SharePoint Online?
This would be a SharePoint Online scenario in order to make our pages actually look great and responsive. We actually will own the scenario and make sure the experience end-to-end is coherent.
Okay, sounds good. Related to that is there's a manager attribute as well, where when a user leaves the company, your org chart in Dell is still populated with someone who's left the company. The support has told me there's two ways you can do it. One is unsync the AD attribute from Azure AD, but some cases you want to maintain that identity for retention reasons. And the other way to do it is clear your manager attribute. So the easiest way from an architecture way, I would say, would be to just ignore anyone who's disabled in Azure AD and take them off your org charts. So any comment?
Yeah, so there are actually 2 or 3 features here. One is the scenario actually renders the entire org chart, and it follows some of the attributes. What is missing is a certain set of policies for that particular org chart, which says when you should ignore a certain set of attribute from AD and when you shouldn't. That functionality doesn't exist. The second part is you'll also notice that in some cases, the org chart actually has a certain delay from the time the user was deactivated from AAD. And in order to make the particular org chart actually show up instantaneously and accurately, which matches the AAD description, is also on a backlog. So both these are in our backlog.
Got it. Cool.
Cool.
So that was my first question. Profiles.
Okay. Maybe real quick, then, so
Yeah,
we
real
can get
quick.
to
Yeah.
many
The
other
second,
questions today.
the second question is +1 for the Swapify. And I,
All right.
Groupify, I believe you're promoting as something that would work on existing team site collections, right? So if you are a company that has hierarchies on subsites, what do you do?
Yeah, and we've talked about that a lot, but Jeremy probably can address it best.
Yeah, I think we were pretty clear, and I'm glad it came through, that we will not support groupify of individual subwebs. There's a reason, which is worth sharing in this forum, which is that because groups are attached to policies, and a bunch of our policies that we talked about are attached to site collections, if you groupify subwebs in a site collection and they come back with different policies, you actually get this conflict again, right? So if subweb A is groupified in a way that says we support external sharing, and subweb B is groupified in a way that says we don't support external sharing. External sharing is a site collection-wide policy, and so we end up with this sort of conflict. So that's why we're focused on site collections. We've heard the feedback about subwebs. I don't have a roadmap or a time frame to talk about. We do expect that you can use migration tools to sort of lift content out of a subweb and put it into its own site collection and then groupify from there. But there is no roadmap for how you could groupify multiple subwebs into different groups.
Right. So
And
here
I think, we've gotten a lot of feedback about subwebs this week as we talk about hubs and et cetera, and I think that's a core theme, and I think we're humble and we take the feedback very seriously. I think some of us, we've already talked about coming back and sort of figuring out at least what guidance we can give on subwebs, and also maybe a little more clarity on our future product direction on subwebs versus site collections and hubs. So that's something I think we learned as we talked about hubs for the first time, as well as Groupify, and so we're going to go back and make sure we both look at the product plan and also really clear guidance, I think was a core theme, that people want more guidance on how to deal with subwebs and all that.
Right. To confirm on that, so you don't have any direction today, but you're taking the feedback. But if we were to take advantage of the new experience, then invest in some of their solutions where you can get your content out of subwebs to a new group that you create. So I see Benjamin here, so he runs ShareGit, we use ShareGit. So use something like ShareGit to move the content over. Right?
That's certainly definitely an option. I mean, I think Ben thinks it's a great option. So I have a question here from Twitter that says, over half of our support calls are from external users struggling to log in with Microsoft accounts. Any improvements to this process that we want to announce this week? Almost sounds like a tiny bit of a softball, but we'll take it, right?
No, why not? Yes, we're super excited. Please pay attention. I think we showed it in our keynote. Every session we're doing on this, we want you to, our big takeaway for all of you is we have secure external sharing with users without requiring sign-in now. So you don't,
The only cloud service, I think, that
Booyah,
provides
the
something?
only cloud service that allows you to do that.
Do you want to do your booyah now?
Booyah, exactly. Thank you. I've been told I should have used that at keynote. So the idea is we know it was very painful, and every time you share with an external user and they don't always want to create a Microsoft account, they may not already have an Office 365 account. And I think in the past the option then was, if they didn't want to create an account, either you wouldn't share with them or you would share with them in a very relatively insecure way, which is you would just have an anonymous link that anybody could click on. And so what we have now is one-time passcode. You're sharing with somebody, you explicitly share with them, they can come in. We give them a code that they get in their email that acts like a one-time password that they can use, and they get in, and that link works for them, they get access to the file. As long as they have that link, and going forward, they have access, and as an admin, you can decide when their access expires, and they're asked to re-establish the fact that they own that email address. So there's security, they have to prove they are who you think they are, they own the email address, but once they do that, they can access it. No more creating accounts.
Cool.
I just wanted to add one
Please.
more thing. In the past, if they signed in with a Microsoft account, they could have left their organization and would continue to have access. So this is actually even more secure than before, because they get to prove that they own that email. They get to prove they still work at NASA, if that's where you send them the code. And they get to prove that, and at the time of access is when we validate that they still are who they claim they are.
Great. A question from up front here?
All right, let's see. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Yeah, awesome. hard not to be nervous. Let's see. So I'm going a little bit off now, these topics that we talked about, going to the content type hub. There are a lot of things with SharePoint. It's like Christmas every month. But the content type hub has been like, it's there. And I love it because I feel like a sorcerer when my customers see what I'm doing.
Sure.
But it can easily create confusion when like, is the content types actually published everywhere or what's happening? Do you have any roadmap or?
Well, Dan was the program manager for the Content Type Hub, so he can at least be responsible for the sins of the past.
I can take credit for making you look like a wizard. I unfortunately don't have a roadmap because I'm not in that space right now. We haven't really been doing that much work around Content Type Hub in the recent time. Is there someone?
I mean, transparently, when we talked about hub sites, we talked about whether Content Type Hub should be part of V1. We decided to focus a little more on look and feel and roll up and data aggregation, but so it's something as we see hub sites roll out, for instance, thinking about how, we have lots of, any feedback we might have on content type hubs as well as how it might be associated with new hub sites. Nothing committed and booked, but it was part of our initial thinking and it's come up a couple times this week. We've made some improvements to the performance and reliability as we get specific feedback that we would fix and various hot fixes and that type of thing. So we certainly committed to making sure it continues to work, but we have nothing to talk about right now in terms of major new functionality in it.
All right. Is it possible that you might consider upgrading like the content type hub, maybe the start page of it, to have instructions and things like that?
I think that's really good feedback. If you think there's not quite enough guidance, I think thank you for that. We'll take that back.
Another thing in search. With the managed properties and crawl properties, I've had this confusion where I look at the managed property that I haven't created, but it's there, it's gray, and it actually works. It's not connected to anything yet. So I've created a new column, the index has gone through, and it's made an example managed property, but it's gray and it's not connected to anything, but it actually works. I have really hard time explaining why to my colleagues.
I don't know the specifics of that. I'm happy to sort of afterwards, I can give you my email, we can go into that. I hate not having a good answer 2 questions in a row, so I will do the politician thing and bubble up. Which is to say, I do want to just sort of say, some people have asked us if we still believe in content types and metadata and schema and content roll-up through dynamic metadata. And absolutely, this is why we invested in the filters pane. This is why we have a new highlighted contents web part. In the highlighted contents web part, co-developed with our IT department, because they had very real need for it, is managed property in the highlighted content web part, so you can have dynamic content based upon metadata on your page. So we absolutely believe in that scenario for knowledge management and a variety of other things. We just have a large backlog that we prioritize, but I don't want anybody to be unclear. We believe in those scenarios. We make as many investments as we can, and I wish we could make more. You look like you wanted to add, or no? Okay. We're good. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you.
Cool.
Sorry, just one small thing. I have an idea, but can I take it afterwards, or should I say it now?
Why don't I take it after? I'm happy to. I'll give you my
Thank you.
email, and we can. I'll get to all the feedback. Thank you.
He was first.
Oh, right there. I didn't.
Yeah,
I'm not watching the wings, so now I know that I'll look at the wings.
Sorry. As SharePoint and Office 365 becomes more robust, what does the typical staffing model look like, and what does it look like for on-prem only? And my second question is planning a full migration from on-prem to the cloud. What does that generally cost as far as man hours and dollars?
By staffing, you mean people in the IT
because
shop?
you got Power Apps coming on board, and you have all these different, app models, and then you have your admin, and you have, just your search. You can actually dedicate an employee for FTE for each one of these aspects in SharePoint.
Sure. I can answer a little. Do you want to maybe just talk generic principles?
I have a narrow part of that.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead.
I can start with sort of a narrow part of that. On the developer side, that's actually been one of the big sort of takeaways from our new SharePoint framework, which is a lot of our customers are saying they no longer require as many SharePoint experts, right? You get a good web developer, front-end web developer, they're going to be able to use the modern tools, and you're going to have 1 or 2 people who are SharePoint architects that understand SharePoint, and the people that are actually doing the development work don't have to be SharePoint people. So in that sense, from an IT point of view, both hiring and repurposing those resources, they're going to be much more flexible resources in your organization. They're not going to be SharePoint people that are sitting around waiting for the next SharePoint task. So from a developer point of view, that's sort of what we contribute, I think, to that. I don't know.
I'll say it depends on the size of your organization.
5,000.
Okay.
All right.
So you can now plug it into a formula and
So where I was going with that
Do you
was,
have a capacity planner management tool for?
for small companies, we have customers that have small companies and probably only have a few admins now because they share the role, and you have the same admin who can be your SharePoint admin, they're your compliance admin, their Office 365 admin, their global admin. So to Dan's point, almost, depending upon the size of the organization and how much content and how many sites you're trying to manage, there is definitely, you don't need as many people as you probably needed in any organization for our premises as you need when you move to the cloud, because you don't have to maintain a lot of infrastructure because the service does that for you. You're not running those servers, you're not upgrading those servers, you're not patching those servers, you're not maintaining the hardware, you don't have to do any of those things. So a lot less work, you don't have to maintain your networks. So definitely fewer people are needed, and depending upon the size of the organization though, if it's a really large organization, you might still want to have different roles, and that you do for other reasons besides just splitting, it's too much work for somebody, but you might also want to have a separation of privilege. And you might say, I want to have some global admin, but I want my compliance admin to be different than my SharePoint admin. So that's why the answer varies and depends per organization. But generally speaking, the point is you move to the cloud, you need less people because we're doing a lot of that heavy lifting on your behalf.
Because right now it's just me.
If it's just you and you're able to run it on-prem, I'm pretty sure you can do it in cloud
We're
too.
going to have a hard time narrowing it down to less than one.
Less than one might be hard. But we'll make your
Cool.
life easier.
Thank you. We have 40 minutes left. We'll go to more questions here. I'm just going to be honest with you. If you really want to have your question asked and you've asked it on Twitter, please stand up to a microphone. I'm going to get to as many of the Twitter questions as I can, but we're just not going to get to all of them. I will say, fun fact, Swapify is super popular on Twitter. Apparently it's when you take somebody's face and swap it with your face and then take a selfie. Because I just looked at the Swapify hashtag, and there's a mix of, yes, Jeremy Masner, please do Swapify, and some really
You're
weird
lucky that's
faces.
what it was.
Yeah, no. Over here.
I have a series of 35 questions. I'll try to be brief. As far as on-prem SharePoint, are there any plans to increase the list view threshold and the lookup column threshold? And then with regards to BI with SharePoint 2019, will it be dependent on SQL 2019 as well, just like SharePoint 2016 was for the BI features?
Jeremy, do you want to take the first one, or do you want me to?
I was
do it either
actually just
way.
looking at Naresh, and I will let
Yeah.
you.
Well,
Okay, fine.
broadly speaking, we're not disclosing the on-prem plans for 2019.
Yeah,
We do
so we
take
don't,
a
yeah, so I think,
split of
what,
code,
the way we look at this is, we don't actually we have a date for 2019. 2019 is in very early stages of planning. We have some sense of themes we're going after, but we don't have an exact set of feature list to share, so it's hard for me to say whether this one particular feature will get there or not.
Can
Like
I
I
try
said,
though? I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure that the list view threshold on-prem is configurable. So take a look at the documentation. I think you can actually already change it as of probably 2013.
No,
maybe even sooner.
you can. It's just resource dependent. And I was just curious if they're making any modifications on the back end that would, lower the resource costs.
Got it. It's a little specific to hardware and how some of the stuff works. We have obviously, every time we're fixing an issue in the online service, we're accruing value to the inevitable on-prem product, but we're not in a place where we can say, oh, it's definitely going to impact that scenario at this time.
Okay, then one totally off scatterbrain question. Are these up here all related to the online SharePoint then? They're not related to on-prem? This is all related to like Office 365 and SharePoint Online?
Correct. These are
Okay.
roadmap slides I took from other talks this week that are going to be leading with the cloud. And many of this are candidates to come back to on-prem, but that was not what we're talking about with specificity at this conference.
All right, thanks.
I would say one of the things I think we'd love to know is what is still keeping you on premises and what's preventing you from moving to the cloud, so we can actually focus on closing more of those gaps. If not in this session, then come find us at the booth to chat about that.
The main thing that I know of is that SSRS, there's a lot of dependency on-prem for SSRS, and there isn't anything in the cloud without a hybrid solution that has SSRS. That's the main holdback for a lot of companies.
Cool. I'll take one question from Twitter and then go to some more mics. There's actually several questions just on what is the future story for InfoPath and are we providing migration? A perennial question. But we have, I mean, we're at an all-time high in our ability to answer it, which is I really do think the investments we've made in Power Apps over the past couple years are starting to pay dividends. You may have seen us talk about this week. In fact, I'll go to the roadmap for business apps. Hopefully it builds automatically. We really have ability to embed Power Apps directly into a SharePoint list, at something we announced at this conference. So it really gives you ability to take the view, the edit, the display forms, and replace it with a custom-built Power App. Now, Power App is really going through the feature list of InfoPath and very quickly adding all the features that would make it available to be an InfoPath replacement, and really has pivoted to making Power Apps a first-class forms on data product. And so I think we have incredible clarity from a strategy from Microsoft's perspective that is the future that will provide it. That is cloud-born, designed for a mobile world, designed to be incredibly performant, and something we are deeply integrating into SharePoint. Whether it's ready for every single InfoPath form in existence, I'll be honest to say we're not there yet. I do think it is robust enough that you should look at it for almost any InfoPath form you've had. Maybe it won't only be, there's still 20, 30% of InfoPath forms out there that wouldn't be appropriate, but it is not early days. Last year, I think we were a little bit hesitant to really say, hey, there's a call to action now to examine InfoPath and do the gap. But I do think that the time is now to do that, and I think even over the next couple months, you'll see more investments there. I do get a lot of questions, in addition to InfoPath replacement, if I have 1,000 InfoPath forms, Microsoft, can you help me migrate to Power Apps? And I don't know of anything this week. We're certainly not providing anything. I didn't think Power Apps had anything to announce on that. I'm getting a note too. So I just wanted to, not a great answer necessarily. I've heard it enough that it does make me want to go back and take another look with the various teams at Microsoft about it. But just so there's clarity for people who asked, there's no first-party InfoPath to Power Apps migration. I would expect the third-party community to help with that over time, but nothing from Microsoft this week. I've lost track of where I'm round-robining. Anybody want to say I've worked right there? It seems to be.
Hi. With the office groups, providing a SharePoint site that is very simplified permissions, and now we have the ability to groupify. Will you have recommendations as to how or when you should groupify versus actually migrating content into a new group because of maybe broken permissions and the ability to have all the evil spawn of all the groups that are underneath it?
Yeah, absolutely. I can do a basic answer, and Jeremy, you can step in where needed. Okay, well, if Jeremy's got to leave very soon, so why don't I let him answer it, and then he can get to the airport.
Yes, sorry, bad timing on my part. I think we will develop some guidance over time. It's part we're going to learn through it also. The first consumer of Groupify will be Microsoft, going through all of our thousands of site collections and figuring out what we're going to promote and what we're not. And we're going to learn from that. We're going to learn from early adopters, and we'll come out. Again, I think the thing I'll say is Groupify has removes no functionality from SharePoint. So you will continue to have the full, I'm going to use the word richness to express how our permission model works. We certainly do have guidance that when you're working in a group, the best model is to make sure that everyone in the group has access to all the content, because that will be the most consistent when you're working from Outlook, when you're working from Teams, when you're working from Planner, so that everyone who's in the group can get to the file. That really is the design point that we go for. But we recognize that there are going to be cases where someone says, you know what, in this group, this particular folder really has to be locked down to only 3 people because we're doing something top secret and it has to go there. And we'll continue to support that. There will be implications of that. So for example, we won't index that content. When you're in a group context, the index is always permissioned to the group members. And so when you break permissions and you remove the group members from that, we won't index that content. So we'll go through this process. We're going to learn it ourselves, and we'll start to share those things out as we develop them.
So, and I do think I think a lot of feedback from this conference about when to groupify. So I think that's good feedback for us to do some additional guidance. Down here.
Has there been any news or changes in regards to guidance on BCS or improvements in that space?
In sort of BCS, I'm happy to take a little few. Business connectivity services, sort of, I mean, the Flow and Power App space really is playing in similar areas. In theory, you could create some sort of Power App form to bring in external data, and Flow, of course, integrates various SaaS services together. The particular BCS feature, we've made no changes into it, but I would look for the Flow, Power Apps, SharePoint, List, business app space as an area where you'll see us certainly connect very deeply to other SaaS systems, using Flow as an orchestration system.
The other part of that would be the announcement this week from us with regards to the web APIs.
Yeah, go ahead.
So to be able to get web APIs registered so you can then call those through your SPFX applications, extensions, and web parts and so on. So there's a couple of different ways that you can sort of try and replicate those scenarios. There's no substitution for the thing I used to have matches here, but there are ways that you could do those scenarios with the new tech.
I forget where we landed. The field customizer is a SharePoint framework extension. Would you recommend using that to pull in external data, or is it mainly just for?
There was actually in this room the session, excuse me, the session before was a great example with Luca, where they actually went through and showed getting external data into an extension on the bottom of the page and so on. So, yeah.
Yeah, and so I think it's probably good feedback for us that I think we'll take back, which is there's a bunch of new features from across the product for connecting the line of business data and bringing it in. Perhaps we need to do a better job of storytelling about how that compares to BCS and what to go forward. So I think we'll take that back, but nothing particular in BCS, but definitely the scenario all up. I think oh.
Hello everyone. Just I have a general SharePoint questions because Microsoft is focusing on cloud and then Office 365. Does Microsoft have any predefined on tool or any mechanism to sync the data between the SharePoint Online to the foundation?
The SharePoint Foundation?
Yeah, SharePoint Foundation, either SharePoint Foundation 2013 to SharePoint Online.
Sure. Do one of you want to talk about our migration and hybrid?
So for migration...
Let me clarify, this is not a migration, this is the synchronization between the online to the on-prem.
Synchronization of files, data.
The real-time pages and
taxonomy.
article synchronization between two platforms.
Dual master hybrid, I think.
Are you looking for file synchronization?
Yes. See, again, this is not a list item and this is not a document library because we wanted to synchronize the content like the pages articles, wiki pages, whatever the wiki pages we have created like on the SharePoint Online, and SharePoint Foundation doesn't have a publishing feature, right? So how we overcome through the publishing feature and synchronize data between the SharePoint Online to Foundation?
Take this, but I think the general answer is we do not have support for that. This is not a scenario we support, that you can publish stuff online and then just sync it down. It's just not supported.
Do you want to talk about the various SSAs and services we do support in a hybrid configuration?
Yeah, so the thing that we do is you can be on premises and you can run a lot of stuff online and you can hybridize. And what that allows you to do is you can actually start using features that are available online, and some of them will show up for your users on premises as well. And they just, when you click on something, it takes them back to online. So there's hybrid taxonomy, there's audit log searching that you can do, there's hybrid OneDrive for Business. There are a lot of features like that, but we don't, the content is usually stays where it is, and some of these experiences bridge the two things together so you see them in one place.
Okay, so the Dutch Microsoft SharePoint Online provide capability to hybrid foundation to the online? Because as per I know, you can hybrid enterprise to the online.
Yes, so if you're running foundations.
Right.
Yes, so the foundations does not have hybrid features. Our hybrid features come in 2013 and 2016.
Yeah, foundation in 2013.
Yes, but not the foundation SKU.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
So this is kind of a pet question, but it seems like as the team sites have gone through evolution of UI and stuff, and maybe I've missed it, but the calendar feature seems to have been neglected. And an enhancement that we've been clamoring for in our organization for the last 10 years, since 2007, is just color-coded calendars. Is there anything like that coming anytime soon?
It's good feedback for us. We have yet to modernize the calendar list view. We have a new events web part that can reason over an events list. In our mobile app, we do actually detect if it's a calendar and show you a pretty rich calendar support. Frankly, we found some good open source APIs we could use in mobile to be able to do that. We haven't tackled it in the web UX. It's not on the roadmap, but it's in the product backlog. I think we're going to sort of synthesize the data from this conference and figure out where it is, but it's good to hear specifically your specific thing. You know, sometimes we've said over the past you should really use Outlook calendars, and we still believe that, but it does seem like there's enough usage of this, in particular scenarios that maybe Outlook calendar doesn't have on their roadmap, that we have, you know, for instance, we did the mobile app support, which was a sign that we still thought that there was room for both, but nothing particularly in the web UX to talk about here.
We'll go find it and vote it up.
Yeah, please, uservoice.com.
We have a nice little JavaScript we could share with you.
There we go, perfect.
So I had a question on Twitter also, but I'll just ask it quick here.
Okay, thank you.
So record centers, just looking for some general guidance. I was kind of looking for a few sessions this week just on record centers and SharePoint in terms of, we're 2013 with millions of records, largely images that have been ingested. We've got full trust solutions with different integrations to those. Some of that is precluding our migration to either 2016 or SharePoint Online. And so we're just trying to figure that out in terms of, is there some good guidance or whatnot on, should we be looking at coming up with how to put records in our Office 365 tenancy rather than on-prem, knowing all the limitations, things like that on index partitions, things of that nature.
Sure.
I mean,
nobody jump at once.
Yeah. I guess first, just hitting on the scale of things, because I think there was a little bit of a scale question, but also the full trust code solutions and integrations. And I think
It's kind of a twofer. So.
Yeah. In terms of the scale of things, I would actually say we've tuned SharePoint Online pretty well for the numbers. And so if you're having a lot of success in terms of the number of items in a library and the number of sites you have and all that stuff, I feel pretty confident we can match those numbers in SharePoint Online. We are 25 terabyte sites, which actually is bigger than the on-prem product is capable of. 30 million items in a list, or a library, which is the same as the on-premises limits. So I actually think in regards to most of the scale numbers, we are at or higher than what on-premises is capable of.
And just to clarify, for the search service application environment as well, that's been probably our biggest limit, has been just guidance on the SSA in terms of the number of index partitions, things of that nature.
I believe the number of, I'm not the search expert, I believe that the number of partitions is fixed in SharePoint Online, so I don't know that it's something you have to tweak with. I know that they have individual customers with billions of documents, so none of the numbers you mentioned, I think, get us super upset, but I think someone wants to weigh in here.
So when it comes to search index partitions in the on-prem, you have a certain set of limitations. In online, we have the capability where if you happen to have 30 million items inside a single document library, we will be able to index all of that in the online world. And the way we make it work is we know how to scale in the online world as far as search index partitions are concerned.
Thanks.
So I think just sort of reiterates that we have the scale numbers. I think the other side, though, was the full trust solution set.
As well as sort of records management strategy and advice. I mean, you want to talk about full trust solutions and migrations to the cloud, or?
Full trust solution migration to the cloud. We don't have a magic button that does full trust solution migration to the cloud. So full trust solutions, really the way that we look at it is using the new SPFX model is one way to get some of your new solutions, but if you have full trust solutions and you have to sideload them, those are always case by case. I think it's going to be, excuse me, I don't believe we have specific guidance right now on how we would do that. I'm not sure if you want to.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say, obviously it sounds like you're doing the right thing. You would take other parts without full trust code to the cloud first. OneDrive's an awesome sort of in a box, move it to the cloud to have less customization. So your sites with heavy customizations probably are in phase 2, phase 3 of your migration project. That makes total sense. I think last conference when we had SharePoint Framework and we only had web parts, it was a little harder to talk about some very common full trust solutions that people would do. There was just no story for. With extensions, I think we have a clear model. We will add more extensions for the types of most popular FTC code as time goes by. And so I think you'll see a stability in our strategy for how it might come, and whether that particular extension type is available was great feedback for us. So find us after, get the email. If there's, I'd love to learn about your FTC code and what part of the API, what particular type of extension is used.
And just clarify, just the last little piece, still a good idea to have records in SharePoint?
Yeah, that one yes, absolutely. Okay. Nishan De Silva did a talk this week. He technically is in a different org, so we maybe didn't do a great job of putting it as part of the SharePoint sessions. But I believe he had a whole talk on the future of records management, and I think we have a more in place versus record center approach.
The answer to your question is yes.
Okay.
Please put the records. You can put them in SharePoint Online, and you can do records management online. So please go do that.
You will find Nishan's talk probably saying an in-place strategy rather than a dedicated record center is oftentimes more appropriate, but certainly we still support the record center site template and record centers. And, but it is worth checking out Nishan's talk just so you can see our broader strategy on records management.
I definitely will, yeah. Thanks very much.
Cool, I'll take another question. Sure, Chax would like to add one thing.
So one thing to look at for the full trust code solutions is the SharePoint PNP. So they have many guidance on looking at the different scenarios and understanding what other models you could use now, so you would be safer when you actually move to cloud. So I would actually encourage you to look at SharePoint PNP.
Yeah. We had just a couple quick roadmap questions we can just get out of the way, which is, I will just do this slide, which is about, oh, well, that's not what I wanted. Anyways, we'll go back in a second. It was when is likes coming to communication sites, and so we hope to roll that out, keep me honest, before the end of the year. One is hub sites coming, and that will be early 2018, so early next year is what we're planning. And then the last one was a search web part, which has been, so in other words, where you want to put a search box in your portal and then access the new enterprise search UX, which is not on the roadmap yet, but we're working hard with the search team to figure that out. That was not in the latest set of web parts, but we actually, and the next set, it's a candidate that's very high on the list, so not on the committed roadmap, but that is something, and definitely use user voice, and we'll take this feedback that we got right here back with us too. So I don't know who got here first. If people are pointing over there, so go ahead. Everybody's nice, but I'll point to you. I'll moderate. Please go ahead.
I apologize if this is obvious to everyone else, but I am starting over, I feel like. What I understand is that if I create a group in Outlook, then I don't have the Teams meetings experience. If I create a team meetings or a team group, if I create a team, then I have a SharePoint collection and I can work with it. If I create a Yammer group, I can eventually use the team meetings. Team meetings is going to replace Skype for Business. Mm-hmm. And so when I create a SharePoint team site or a SharePoint communication site, am I also going to have that team meetings experience?
Yeah, the way it works is no matter what you do, you get an Office 365 group, so you have a coherent identity construct, so you have a list of people that are part of this group no matter where you create it. Mm-hmm. And there are some differences in our product depending on where you create that, what we get. If you create a SharePoint site, or if you created an Outlook, you get an Office 365 group. We don't by default provision a Microsoft team for you. Okay. That was just a decision we make. I think we're listening to feedback, but we were afraid of, not everything would maybe need a team by default.
But when you go create a team, you can actually choose an existing Office 365.
Yeah, exactly. I was just going to get to that. So then,
maybe I should start from Teams then to make sure that I have the Teams experience.
And then when you create a team, you have a choice. You can create a brand new team and it creates a new 365 group, or as Kavita was just saying, you can associate with an existing Office 365 group that, maybe one that was created before Teams even existed. And so you can, I guess, teamify that group. And you can swap it out. And Dave, do you want to add something?
Yeah, I just want to clarify. When you create a communication site, because you mentioned that in the type of site you might create, we do not create an Office 365 group when you create that site.
Okay.
Team sites, yes. Communication sites, no.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, my question goes into the new modern experience, which I personally like very much. The problem is we're having a product where we're helping our customers to build their intranet, and they're really concerned about branding and theming, a lot of that kind of stuff. And also layouts are very important for them. So what we actually do is we put a lot of effort into creating, for example, custom page layouts and help them to achieve what they actually want. So the modern experience always was like a thing in the cloud, right? So we're having both. We're having on-prem customers and we're having cloud customers. So it was always something that was in the cloud. Now with the feature pack 2, it also comes to on-prem, which I think is great. So the question now will arise, so what do we do with our classic pages? Because they will not fit into your model. Like we cannot create, custom page layouts and stuff like that. So what would you tell to our customers?
Yeah. So first, just to clarify, Feature Pack 2, we announced it was a developer-focused feature pack, so SharePoint Framework came to Feature Pack 2 for on-prem customers. The modern user experience, other than OneDrive, which was in Feature Pack 1, so communication sites, pages, document libraries, lists, that was not included in Feature Pack 2. So that's not available on-prem yet.
Yeah, on the Feature Pack 2 part, so what is there from a modern, because we use that word so loosely, is the ability to create new client-side web parts using our new framework and putting those on classic pages. So the intent there is to get you started developing. That when you invest in some new code, you're not going to have to throw it away when you get to modern. So you'll be able to make modern web parts, use them on classic pages.
So the recommendation here is still to stick with classic pages, obviously.
Well, on-prem, absolutely, stick with classic pages.
There is no other way, but just using the new tools like the client-side web parts, and then once we are ready to, go into the modern layout or whatever, going into the cloud, we can still use that kind of.
Correct. So the way you want to think about it is, if you're going to go invest in building some new web part, you use a new Yeoman generator that we released this week, and it's actually aware of whether you're on-prem or in the cloud, what your intentions are, and it'll bundle things accordingly. So you'll be able to create a web part that works on-prem, and then when you move to the cloud, you're going to be able to repurpose that. And really what you want to do at that point is just say, what things are going to adopt the new modern experience and start from there. There's going to be some things, quite honestly, that are probably going to be on-prem for quite a while, and you're going to wait till the end of life. You're not going to necessarily try and pick it up and move it to the cloud. You've invested a lot, you've got custom code there and so on, right? So it's going to depend. It really is.
And I would say, let me be unambiguously clear about our publishing and SharePoint as a content management system strategy for the user experience. Communication sites, modern pages, all of this. Our goal is for it to power any portal, any intranet on the planet. Now, we have some feature work to do, of course, so we can get there. Everybody's giving a bunch of feedback this week, page layouts, multilingual, audience targeting. But the goal is to build as many features as possible and get as many portals as time goes by as we do there. Now, it'll be time until we get there, which is why we will have millions and millions of people continuing to use classic publishing, brand new sites, existing sites. We spend an enormous amount of resources ensuring that those continue to operate, get faster every day with work like new CDN support. So we absolutely support classic publishing. Go forward investment will be in communication sites, and communication sites, even if the product isn't true today, our goal and our strategy is to host any publishing portal on the planet. And it's just watch us as we get the feature richness there, and so you can sort of figure out our strategy.
Okay, but my last question, I swear. In terms of page layouts, will we ever be as flexible as we were before? With the new modern experience.
I don't know if we'll be flexible, but we'll be even better, because we will look at what people need from page layouts today. We will look at what you'd want from a page layout on mobile, and we will design something that would be appropriate for a modern content management system that you see out there. We've signaled, obviously, if you create a new page today, we come up with pre-canned page layouts. You can't create any right now. We've also launched this week, or announced this week, the ability to clone a page, which is a very simple democratic form of page layout. So you can tell we know a lot, we hear a lot about that scenario. You're starting to see us eat around the edges. Custom page layouts or custom page designs I don't think we officially put it on the roadmap. It is top of mind for us.
Yeah, it's on our backlog. No roadmap commitment for it. But what you're talking about, we want to achieve. I wouldn't say we want to be as necessarily as flexible as we used to be, because we actually put a lot of Rails in the Modern Pages app today, so we can ensure that when you go to any device, it looks fantastic. And we need to have some restriction on that, but we want to let you do what you need to do.
Yeah, I really do think we're going to take a fresh look at flexibility versus power versus responsive design, and hopefully come up with something that people will like even better. And you know, one of the things we're dancing around the edges here, when we did modern lists and modern libraries, we were able to put that modern UX on existing data. Because the data was pretty, independent of the UX, and we could put a modern library skim over the existing data. We looked, of course, it would be great to be able to do that for publishing as well, because then we would have existing publishing portals that automatically would get fish UX. That was just technically not possible. Like, we just really couldn't take an existing publishing site and have the performance, the responsiveness that we needed. And that we really wanted to embrace going forward. So we have a different strategy in the publishing space, where we have a new thing. We'll look at parity over time. We'll look at, of course, content roll-up features that can take existing data and sort of make it be embedded in place, those types of things. So it is I recognize it's slightly different than lists and libraries, where we try to do it as automatically as possible. But hopefully the strategy is clear, and you can watch us as we develop it.
All right, thanks.
Cool, thank you. Sorry, between the two of you? Okay, go ahead.
First, I'd like to thank you all for coming and letting us ask the questions unfiltered. Really appreciate that.
No problem.
That's got to be stressful.
We were unplugged, not unfiltered.
You should listen to us unfiltered.
If I'm unfiltered,
Mr.
it's gonna
Kogan,
get really
anyways.
bad. I'd like to say that Kavita and I have a long technical relationship over idle session timeout. But that's not going to be the question. So, so the question is...
It's meant to be short.
The question is over attestation. Is there something that's in the process that allow us to attest to sites, i.e. groups or teams, or that? It's kind of a governance question, I suppose. Or is there maybe a third-party solution you all are looking at for that?
So on the group side, I believe there is an attestation feature for guests, where you get to reprove that you still need access, and the group owner can decide. Beyond that, we don't have anything in the roadmap, but I would love to chat with you offline to learn more.
Okay, thanks.
I also wanted to add, for the secure external sharing piece on that, there is a way for, essentially the admin feature is to require you to reattest that you still own that email. So from that point of view, there is another attestation piece that does exist.
Quick process check. I'll take a question over there. I'll precede a question you guys can think about it. We'll end on that one because we have 8 minutes left, from Jennifer Mason. A nice touchy-feely question. Dan, you're probably going to hate me for it, but I'll make you do it anyways. What's the
unfiltered or filtered?
Filtered.
Favorite kid or not favorite?
What is your favorite feature you worked on this year, and what are you most excited for next year? So I just say this now, don't answer it, but you can think about it in the back of your head while we take a question over there.
Oh, thank you. I'll try to make this as quick as possible. Am I allowed to ask a delve question? Is that considered SharePoint?
There is no dumb questions.
No, delve.
Delve.
Delve was in. I wasn't sure if that's a part of. But
no comment.
My question is basically, I wanted to know if you guys had any plans to allow, and I apologize if this is already covered, to allow custom properties from either AD on-premise or Azure AD to get pulled into the profile, especially now that search is getting beefed up and some things aren't even being pulled in natively.
I'm happy to take a brief answer. It's common this week. I've actually sent, I think, 2 mails to the GPM of the owner of the Profile UX asking about custom properties as well as custom UX extensions. I don't believe they announced anything. I think technically if you have a custom property, you can get it to appear in a pretty low down place on the page. So it is, you could say we have scenario completeness because it will appear there, but I get you, and I think there's some work to do to allow you to say where this property is. If it's the most important property, why is it buried so far down? And then similar to SharePoint Framework, can there be an extension type that is profile widget that you would put on the page? I'm dreaming with you. I'm not announcing any committed roadmap, but I think we've heard that a lot, and we continue to. And I'm an advocate for it, and even though there's no roadmap, I will certainly fight for that. Is there somebody? Oh, way over there. Thank you.
So
I haven't looked at it in a while, but it kind of falls in the line with the same question. And our biggest challenge to migrating to SharePoint Online is custom attributes in the user profiles. And when are we going to be able to migrate the user profiles from on-prem to online?
Good question. I see the 3 dev managers of the product sort of probably deciding who is going to own this feature and make a bunch of customers in this room happy right now, not pointing fingers.
They're all pointing at each other. Yeah.
In all honesty, thank you for the feedback. I hear you on that. I plan on synthesizing the feedback on custom US extensions as well as on the page, as well as a data model for profile properties that's extensible like you did it, taking it back to the team. I don't think there's anything that we've announced that I know.
You've covered it.
Yeah, so
it's good feedback.
It is definitely good feedback. Here, and then we will end with our touchy-feely question. Oh, here, and then we will end with our touchy-feely question. Let's do it. We can do it. We have 5 minutes.
All right, so quickly, this is actually based on something the gentleman that had to leave mentioned, and so I don't know if anybody can address it or not, but he said something about with a group-connected site, if you break inheritance, that the content won't be indexed. Does that mean it won't be searchable also? Okay, that's what I thought I understood. That's
Russ, do you want to just answer that? Yeah. With a microphone? With a microphone. Really quick.
Okay, yeah, that's exactly what he was saying, and he was talking about it in the context of subsites and everything else. If you break the change the ACLs on the group inherited site, then yeah, it won't be indexed. You won't get it searched at that point in time, no search results.
even if the group does still have access to it, but you just break inheritance and like maybe add 2 other people to it?
You're adding people to it. You can add people to it and not remove the group, but those 2 people won't necessarily get the search results the way the search indexing works with groups for everything. So that's correct.
So we'll be transparent about the limitations. And if we have any clarifying questions, you can ask us. We can follow up an email and maybe get some better guidance on that. So here, and then our final question.
We're fairly new in SharePoint, so we just started this year. We came from FileNet and Lotus Notes application, so we're having Microsoft consultant locally and from other third-party vendor also. What we're trying to do right now is we have SharePoint Online for the collaboration, and then we're setting up also an on-prem and setting up hybrid for the reason that the company wants the super confidential documents to stay on-prem and some of the Lotus Notes application to be migrated on-prem and even the FileNet documents. Do you think this is the way to go? Because what I've been hearing in this session is moving everything on the cloud.
I think there's maybe some specifics to that question. I'm happy to answer. We're happy to answer sort of afterwards. I would say, though, hybrid is our most common deployment environment.
I will say this. If you're new to this, I would strongly encourage you to actually consider moving everything to the cloud. Happy to take this question offline with you outside to see how other companies address similar situations when they have everything in the cloud, but they still have super secret content. There are things you can do, and you can put your content in a cloud and keep it super secret from us. So we can talk about that offline.
Thank you.
Cool. Last question from the microphones.
Yeah, Kavita, you asked earlier, what keeps us from moving to the cloud? I work specifically in the aerospace defense industry, and oftentimes we have a need to be able to have a single identity home to multiple tenants. Have there been any improvements in that area where, we can have one person with one identity be able to connect or be associated to different tenancies?
An identity is typically associated with the tenant, but we do have a lot of ways in which you can collaborate across different tenants. At the core of it, it's all an Azure AD identity. So there's no way for the same identity to be used to be there in 2 tenants, but it's visible in 2 tenants.
Right. Yeah. We have a need to have more control based on the type of data, whether it goes into a fed-off tenancy versus a public tenancy.
I think maybe worth taking offline. There are other strategies to go make this happen without having to create, like to Kavita's point, you want to give access. There's ability to give access to the same user in multiple tenants. That exists.
Okay.
Well, Thank you all. We'll take some more questions up here. Lightning round. We have 1 minute and 23 seconds left, so we're going to do it. Favorite feature you worked on this year? Thing you're most excited in the next little bit? Zach, starting with you and going down the line.
Favorite feature this year has got to be Files Restore. I'm super excited about that one. And then next year, this year was about going fast, and next year is faster.
Ooh.
Favorite feature is the one-time passcode secure external sharing. Really eliminated the friction as far as accessing documents is concerned. Next year, super excited about bringing classification-driven policies.
Cool.
Unlike Adam, I don't have favorite children, so it's hard to pick. So I'm gonna say extensions, because that's really been the bulk. There's a bunch of stuff that's sort of in that space, but SharePoint extensions. And for next year, it's hard to pick. I'm gonna go with the adult question from the other guy. So I'm not sure.
Okay.
This is very tough given I have so many areas, so somebody's going to get very upset. So,
Yeah, right?
but I'm going to pick multi-geo. It's my favorite feature for this year. Multi-geo for OneDrive for Business and SharePoint, which is coming soon. For next year, I'm really excited about, I think, performance. Super excited about it, yeah.
Very cool. So for me, I'm probably most excited about sort of the set of features that help people manage sets of sites, so hub sites, themes, like just be able to, last conference we got a lot of feedback, but an individual site was great, but there's so much I need to manage a collection of sites, and really seeing people respond pretty positively to that was nice. I'm actually looking forward next year, not necessarily to a feature, but to seeing people use it. We have a hashtag called ComSite Gallery. So if you create a ComSite, a beautiful looking one, you want to share it with the product team, you can use that hashtag to share it out on Twitter. And I'm actually really eager to see that and a variety of other places of people actually using a lot of what we talked about here today. So thank you today. We are always available for more questions. You can vote up on User Voice, sharepoint.uservoice.com. You can ask us questions right now, the Microsoft Tech community, and of course, any of us on Twitter. So enjoy the rest of the conference and enjoy the Universal tonight.